have any public comment for items not appearing on today's agenda? No, okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to additions to the agenda. Commissioner Concepcion, Commissioner Dershowitz? Okay. Then we'll move on to our meeting minutes. Are there any changes or alterations that we need to consider for the meeting minutes? No? All right. We have a motion.
I will move to approve the minutes from the meetings held February 2nd and February 7th of 2023.
All right, we have a motion and a second for the two sets of minutes from last week. All those in favor of approving those minutes, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And right before we'll start our proclamation, I will wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day.
Wanted to make sure I didn't forget that. We will now move on to proclamation number 5 of 2023, which is a big one. Proclaiming February as Black History Month in Center County. I think we have upwards of 4 speakers. Did you want to come up and sit in the chairs, or maybe speak at the podium? We're flexible.
Charles.
Yeah.
Put three chairs over here, and I'll go grab.
All right. Here,
Here,
Steve,
we can use this one.
why don't you grab 2? Keep yours, Amber, and Steve and I.
Okay.
We can fit them all in there.
I think we can. We'll just
We're
need to
good.
rotate a little further.
Will that work? Yeah.
All right.
That'll work. And Alana will stand with me.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so we have how many chairs?
We're good. Alana will stand with me. Yep.
All right.
So Black
Go right ahead, Leslie.
So Black History Month is an opportune time for everyone to move their intentions into action and collectively move America's promise forward personally and institutionally. So we thank the commissioners today for issuing a proclamation for Black History Month that acknowledges our collective history and the contributions of African Americans in Center County. My name is Leslie Lang, and I have been a Center County resident for 16 years. I am first generation. My family is from Jamaica, West Indies, and this means that I'm the firstborn in the United States for my family, and my daughter joins me today. Contributing to my community in the daily work at the university and my civic engagement and volunteerism is a privilege, and it's a way of life for my daughter and I. I was pleased to be recognized as the 2023 Humanitarian Service Award recipient by the Forum on Black Affairs, and I also serve as a State College NAACP Educational Co-Chair. And today, I have fellows with me, Charles Dumas, Gary Abdullah, Sutan Magruder, and Alana Lang. We are a small but mighty group of Black trailblazers and change makers in Center County, and we'd like to just bring to your attention a few of our local Black Americans in Center County whose daily lives and their workplace and their surrounding community we have been notable firsts. Deceased, we will remember Thelma Price, our first African-American woman to be the Assistant Vice President of Student Affairs in 1972 and the President for the NAACP in 1977, and she is on the mural that is downtown State College. Also deceased, but we remember her, is Dr. Donna King, pastor of Bellefonte St. Paul's African Methodist Episcopal Church. She was a historian, a lecturer, African American Studies at Penn State, and she taught about the abolitionist movement in Bellefonte and Center County, and she gave walking tours to the Underground Railroad stops that are in Bellefonte until she died in 2021. We also remember deceased. Bill Asbury is actually living, sorry. Only 2 deceased, yes. Pardon me, Bill. Bill was the first Black man appointed as Vice President of Student Affairs in 1987. We also wanted to remember, and a notable first was Barbara Farmer, who became our first African American principal hired in State College Area School District in 1997. Blanny Bowen was the first African-American Vice Provost for Academic Affairs in 2004. Grace Hampton was appointed the University Vice Provost and was the first African-American female and still the only one at Penn State. And Coquise Washington, our first African-American female head coach in the history of Penn State for women's basketball program in 2007. And currently seated, we are so happy to acknowledge Pam Robb, who relocated to State College only in 2015, but she is a decorated retired veteran of the U.S. Army, and she is the Patton Township Supervisor, and she is currently serving as the first black female chair of COG, the Council of Governments for Public Safety. We also have Sutan Magruder, who is here with us today, presently seated in State College, and he came to us in 2016. He works on campus in our counseling and psychological services, but he is serving our community in Patton Township as a supervisor. We also have a notable first, Divine Lipscomb, who is the first African-American man and formerly incarcerated individual ever elected to State College Borough in 2021. Cynthia Young is the Associate Professor in African American Studies with a PhD from Yale, and she is serving as our first Commissioner for the Community and the Oversight Board for State College. Kikora Franklin, many of you know her contributions too, was the first African American female to be full professor in the 100 years of the State School of Theater, and that's a big deal at Penn State. All of these amazing individuals call Centre County their home, and they have made an impact on our campus and in our communities, and it gives me great pleasure to say their names as part of the living legacy of African American contributions in State College and in the Centre County region. And notably, we of course remember that Dr. King came to Penn State in 1965, and Barack Obama visited Penn State when he was running for presidency in 2008. With me today is Charles Dumas. He is here. He is the first chairperson for the State College Borough Human Relations Commission. He is a founding member who helped establish the Martin Luther King Memorial Plaza. Charles has a long list of accomplishments as an author, an Emmy award-winning actor, and so much more. We love Charles, and Charles has a few words to say with us about Black history, too. Charles.
First of all, let me apologize. I didn't realize that we had to prepare remarks, but thank you, Leslie. That was really quite well done. Thank you indeed. And second, let me congratulate the newest head of the Centre County Commissions, who I've known, how you doing, Mark, and Amber for, my job here, talking off the cuff, is I am a member of the School of Theater, Professor Emeritus there, and I just want to point out one of the things that happens out of Centre County that affects more than Centre County. There's a guy named, I don't know if you've heard of him, named August Wilson, who is probably one of the top 3 American, I didn't say Black American, I said American playwrights that we've ever had. And he happens to be a neighbor in Pittsburgh before he passed. And August Wilson had his only, during his lifetime, the only time his works were presented in full, the Decade series, the only time was here at Penn State in conjunction with Centre County, in conjunction with the School of Theater, and with the Africana Research Center. All of his plays were presented in conjunction with Pittsburgh Country Players and the Temple University. So these are just one of the many accomplishments that have blossomed out of Penn State, Centre County, State College, Bellefonte, etc. And we are very proud of that, and we're very proud to add that to the record today.
Thank you, Charles. And Gary Abdullah, our fabulous elder from Unity Church of Jesus Christ and founding member of the MLK Plaza Committee, also has some nuggets to share with us today.
Gary Abdullah needs readers now, so give me a minute. I arrived in State College from Philadelphia in the summer of 1970, when the Temple Market was a major grocery store right on Beaver Avenue, and Black students might get stared at when you walked across campus. It was a time of great change for the community, as the state's consent decree with the university brought more students of color from Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. As Penn State's Black students and staff began to accumulate, it's easy to think that we were a strange new thing for Happy Valley. But, as the late Mom Price explained to me, the first signs that Black people were transitioning from underrepresented visitors to a permanent community were the parties at the Walnut Building and the formation in the early 1970s of the Black Christian Fellowship. She always insisted that the first thing Black people did were to assemble for parties and for church. I happened to be present in 1971 when the first black students gathered spontaneously around a piano in East Halls after a dinner. It was the beginning of the gospel choir, the United Soul Ensemble, which existed at the university for a long time. But long before that, St. Paul's AME Church was founded in Bellefonte in the 1860s. I heard that black students used to hitchhike from State College to Bellefonte to go to church in the 70s. So the church is a big and persistent part of black culture, and it's been thriving in a variety of forms and locations in Happy Valley for many decades. I'm happy to be here as part of State College's Unity Church of Jesus Christ, which several of you are probably familiar with, and we will be celebrating our 45th anniversary in April. And the Albright Bethune United Methodist Church in State College is nearly as old as our church is, and there are many local churches that have a multicultural presence now within their congregations because of the establishment of permanent residency within our community. So, as we celebrate African American History Month in 2023, it's important to acknowledge that the black church is a consistent presence. Like much of our country's history, we've actually been here for a long time, and it's just a question of how the mainstream responds to it. But we're happy to be here to acknowledge the continuing interaction and hopefully the contributions that we are making to the community for Black History Month.
Sultan or Alana, do you have anything to say?
What came to mind to talk about today was the definition of a legacy, which is a long-lasting impact of particular events, actions that took place in the past or of a person's life. Black history is important for everyone to acknowledge for this reason, because the contributions made to get us here didn't happen without the tireless efforts and the trailblazing of the Black community in government, the arts, and entertainment. And by not viewing Black history as all our own history, we don't work toward liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Well, thank you, Leslie, and Alana, and Gary, and Charles, and Sultan. As you brought up, there are now more and more elected officials throughout the county who are African Americans. But reaching back for Gary's comment about how African Americans have been in Centre County for a long time, they go back to almost the beginnings of Centre County. When the Quakers settled Bellefonte relatively quickly, became a station on the Underground Railroad. I think a number of the people passing through thought, this is a nice place. I think I will stay. And a substantial fraction of Bellefonte's population during the Civil War and shortly after was African American. We have at the Soldiers and Sailors Memorial in front of the Centre County Courthouse, there's a section for the U.S. colored troops who helped defend this country during the Civil War, and a number of them actually perished in active battles. So I just want to mention that African Americans have been here since nearly the very beginnings, and they've been made huge contributions to the history and the quality of life in Centre County. Thank you for coming. I'll pass it over to Commissioner Concepcion.
Oh, I'm so glad that you all are here today, and it's just such a privilege to be able to celebrate Black History Month with you all. Mr. Abdullah, I'd like to really thank you, especially for all of your contributions through the Campus and Community and Unity group that back in, I would say, must have been like early 2017 when that group was really starting to get moving. I was able to have some conversations with Pastor McKenzie from Unity Church, and his, just the wisdom that he shared with us as leaders of the State College Area School District about how to be strong mentors for kids in our community was just really powerful. I think he was able to bring sort of a both a perspective as an elder and a father, but also that pastor's perspective on how we work with kids. And he's had like an impact in this community that is like immeasurable. And I know your work through that church and these organizations as well. So thank you so much for being here. Yeah.
Well,
I know it's been referenced a couple of times about the AME Church here in Bellefonte. And as a young boy growing up, Reverend Spiller, who was a pastor there when I was just a wee lad, he and his wife lived right on Lamb Street, what would be the John Montgomery Ward House now. And I spent many days, we were family friends, and I spent many times in that house, and I think fondly about the reflections back on that time and the importance of the AME Church here in Bellefonte, and having a historical property that was part of the Underground Railroad in town. I've always appreciated what Bellefonte's contribution was, but we've always been an accepting community, and I hope that just continues. And I know we have so much to celebrate, but I think what we need to really celebrate is the fact that we all live in one community, and we make it that much better by just working together, living together, praying together, and just shaking hands together. And I think sometimes we just need to remember that getting along is an incredibly important thing that we sometimes take for granted in the days of technology. That sometimes a smile and a handshake is worth more than anything else. And I'm really glad you're here today. We got to celebrate Black History Month here in Center County, and I think across the country there's a big celebration going on. So it's our honor to help you celebrate and help all of us remember just the importance of everything that we've accomplished together. So thank you. I appreciate y'all being here.
Shall we move to the?
Yeah, the one other
proclamation
thing to
motions?
note, Town and Gown Magazine has a whole article on Black history in Center County. I think we have copies out front, so.
Well, thank you. Were you going to read the proclamation for us?
Yes. So, it's okay if I go a little quickly through it?
Yeah.
Okay. So proclamation number 5 of 2023, whereas the United States government officially recognizes Black History Month as an annual celebration in February since 1976. Black History Month fosters awareness, education, and celebration of many achievements and vital contributions made by African Americans to our economic, cultural, spiritual, and political developments. Whereas the origin of Black History Month dates back to 1915, when Carter G. Woodson founded the organization known as the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. And whereas the observation of Black History Month calls our attention to the moral imperative for global dignity, to acknowledge the important contributions of African Americans in shaping our nation's history, and pays tribute to the generational struggles through systemic racism to create a more equitable future for Black people. And whereas the national theme for 2023 is Black resistance, exploring how African Americans have resisted historic and ongoing oppression in all forms, including lynching, racial programs, and police killings since the earliest days of the nation. We recognize and commend the invaluable contributions of African Americans that have shaped our community of Center County. We honor local individuals who we were mentioning, scholars, teachers, business people, community leaders, and contributors who've enriched the quality of our lives and continue to move us toward freedom, fairness, justice, and equity. Whereas Center County endeavors working toward becoming an inclusive, welcoming, and engaging community where diversity is honored and celebrated throughout Pennsylvania. Therefore, be it resolved, the Center County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim February 2023 as Black History Month in Center County, and encourages all community members to celebrate our diverse heritage and culture and continue our efforts to create a world that is more just, peaceful, and prosperous for all. Adopted this 14th day of February. I think I got most of these.
Thank you, Commissioners. We acknowledge that the foremost purpose of Black History Month and the proclamation is to make all Americans aware of the struggle that continues for freedom and equal opportunity for Black Americans, and for the intentional call to action to the many achievements of Black Americans in every field, from the sciences, literature, arts, politics, religion, and commerce. And we thank you for acknowledging those aspirations in our pursuit for justice and equality in our everyday practices. Thank you.
We need to do the proclamation first, then we do the picture.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, gotta actually vote on it.
Sorry. Oh, I forgot the vote. That part is important. Okay. So I will move to adopt Proclamation 5 of 2023, proclaiming February 2023 as Black History Month in Center County.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adopting proclamation number 5 for Black History Month, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. All right. Now it's officially
Now it's time for the
voted in.
picture.
Now
Yes.
we can do the pictures.
You know, as I think about Bellefonte history, if you go up right next to the courthouse, you'll see that there's a plaque, a historic plaque noting that one of the first editors of Billboard magazine, and of course the Mills brothers,
Yes.
which
Right.
it's almost not right to mention folks that have had a huge impact on our community.
Yeah, right over here in front of the map of Center County. Now, normally, we only print one proclamation, but we printed 3, but we have 5 people. Oh, come on in. Come on in. We have the guests in the middle. So why don't we share one of these here?
Squeeze in a little bit.
One goes there, and then for our Emmy Award winner,
That's right.
Man,
not a whole lot of those
and
around.
we can make more of them.
Angle in a little. All right. Can you get us, Aaron? All right. Smile.
Point it up there. Hang on a second.
All right,
Gotta point it.
Gotta show it, right.
There we
Show you actors how to do everything.
Gotta give us the script.
I'll make sure you get a
All right, and then hold a sec, because then Gary wants to get a nice shot without Aaron in the middle of it. You got it? You got it?
You need to come up?
How about you, Joe? You got it?
Yeah, I got it, thanks.
Okay.
All right.
Great, thanks.
What a pleasure.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, man, I love
Good
it.
to see you.
There was just a beautiful article on Union Cemetery.
Thank you for being here. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Alana.
Thanks, man.
Let's see, I think I'm gonna need that one.
Oh, you're gonna need that one.
I'll need that one. Thanks for coming, Joe. Good to see you.
Thank you very much. Indeed.
All right. Now, back to regular business. I think Dave's already prepped. Resolution number 4 of 2023, authorizing the execution of, on behalf of Center County, certain documents associated with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, DOT grant objects.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. I do ask of our grant applications and the execution of our grant agreements with PennDOT for our shared ride services and anything related to the shared ride PennDOT-sponsored items. Previously, Commissioner Pipe had done that. When I need to execute a grant, I send you a quick email and say, please execute that grant yesterday. No,
all right.
it's not that bad, but it's, when we need to execute a grant, it's just this, it gives the board the authority to do that, and then we can proceed with filling in all the information for such grants. And we will have one coming up here soon for the next fiscal year, within the next month or so, that we'll be pursuing on. So that's what this is about, to give us, to replace Commissioner Pipe with our new chairman and have him be the application person and the agreement person. So
Oh, all right.
okay?
Okay, thanks,
Any
Dave.
questions?
Any questions for Amber or?
Sounds reasonable.
Okay.
No, good. All right.
So I'll move to add the Resolution 4 of 2023 to next week's consent agenda.
All right, we have a motion and a second, adding resolution number 4 of 2023 to next week's consent agenda. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose nay. Motion carries. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Oh, you're up for the next one, too.
I am, yes. I
Right,
just
now
stood
we're-
still. The next one I come before you about is we being funded through PennDOT, and they have quite a bit of federal funding coming through there now that they passed down to the transportation agencies. The federal government requires them to make sure that we post Title VI information for notice of non-discrimination in our offices, in our vehicles, and the likes of that. So So PennDOT is taking a active approach to make sure we're following that. And I think most agencies really never had anything because there was very little federal funds that funded us prior to the last few years. So they've given us the time to get this in place. My administrative assistant put it all together, worked with various agencies throughout the Commonwealth that have it, and internally here with our human resources. And what I'm asking is for consider approval of our Title VI plan that we can go ahead and proceed and get everything properly posted and in view of the public so that if there is an issue, they know what direction to go. It'll be posted in each vehicle. All my staff will have it beside them at their desk so that if there's ever a complaint comes in, and so far in my 23 years, I've never seen one, and I hope it continues as long as I'm around and beyond. But that's what this is about, so.
Great, thanks, Dave. Any questions, Commissioner?
I'll move to add Transportation Title VI Plan to next week's consent agenda.
All those in favor of adding the plan, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you very much.
All right, now I think it's Faith's turn.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, I have 2 items for you today. The first one is in regards to a recent desk review monitoring with Guidehouse. Guidehouse is the consultant that the state, through the Department of Human Services, hired a little over a year ago to assist them with the execution of the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, or ERAP. A couple of months ago, Center County was one of the selected counties to participate in their desk review. We were responsible for giving them about 25 to 30 files, and then we had an exit interview with them just a little bit after the holidays. I'm beyond pleased to share that their feedback with us was incredible. They said we had one of the best executed programs in the county. I'm not going to cry, but I might here at the best. You know how hard these past couple years have been for my department. We had an exceptional work policy, and we had some of the finest work in the county. So that was a really amazing moment for me personally and professionally, and also for my team. We had a couple of findings and concerns that were provided during the exit, in which we had about 8 to 10 of those we were able to resolve or dispute, actually within 24 hours. And so the last thing that we had on what is called our corrective action plan was a miscalculation of someone's income in which they were over income for one of their multiple awards. So with that, we were able to make a couple of corrections and reteach the staff how to do a different type of calculation for biweekly pay stubs, which is actually way more complicated than even I knew. Create some different forms and provide them with our model of how we're planning to improve. So that is what we have to sign. Guidehouse prefers that we go in front of the board and have the commissioner sign. Some other departments, or even some other times in our department, we don't have to do that. And then a part of the corrective action plan, like I said, is a letter and memo from us about how we've resolved the issue. So again, we went from about 8 to 10 different findings or concerns that were simple things like put this line of information of how to do XYZ task that's in these regs in your regs. And so we were able to resolve that pretty quickly. But like I said, the feedback was incredible. And I just want to take that time to thank you for your support. I mean, we're still running ERAP, as you know. This focused on ERAP 1. This was over $12 million that was put out into the community since March of 21. We received over 5,000 applications and served about 2,500 households. So to get to the end and to finally have that really amazing validation from the state was incredible. So that's the corrective action plan. It's due by the end of the week, so I'm asking for same-day approval just so we can meet that deadline.
Great, thanks, Faith. I know it was very difficult for your department to increase its size by hundreds of percent in just a couple of months. And as you mentioned, you have distributed $12 million just from ERAP 1 to over 2,500 families in Center County. Those are massive, massive numbers.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear you had such a good report, and congrats to all of your staff as well.
Thank
On a job well done.
Much as we found out with a number of the pandemic-generated funding streams, the guide rails and the guideposts changed along the way numerous times. So the fact that you could keep up with that in and of itself was an amazing thing. So
Thank you.
I would, again, congratulate you on a job well done.
Thank you.
All right.
Jen?
I'll move to approve the corrective action plan from Guidehouse for the ERAP desktop monitoring.
All right, we have motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the corrective action plan, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And you have a second item, Faith.
Yep. So today I'm finally in front of you with the contract agreement with DCD. I've been in front of you a number of times for some different documents that need to be assigned ahead of time, also for things like the grant submission itself. So this is for our 2022 ESG grant, which is for the homeless prevention and emergency shelter services. So once this grant, or once the contract is in place, we can start to move forward. The homeless prevention program, again, will come out of Center County's Office of Adult Services, and we're going to be essentially kind of packaging that with our other continuum of housing services and rental assistance dollars. It's going to be a really big shift for our department. It's a very highly regulated program, so we have quite a spectrum of services that go anywhere from a little bit more flexible, like ERAP, all the way now to homeless prevention, which is a little bit, like I said, more highly regulated. Emergency shelter services will be an expansion of what exists already through the Center House program at Housing Transition. And I'm sure as you've heard, and as we are kind of finalizing our point-in-time study, our homelessness continues to be on the rise, but it's a very complex matter. So homelessness looks very different. There's a lot of different types of definitions out there depending on the program. So we're going to continue to work on finalizing that work, and then also continue to look at the needs at the shelter. So that will be a really great support for us. This is also an ongoing grant. So the only ESG dollars that we've had in our department previous to this are the CV1 and 2, which were COVID related. They have an end date of June 30th of this calendar year. But this is what I call kind of the mainstream ESG. So if we do well, we can continue to apply for it like we do with our HUD grant for rapid rehousing. So that's a really big deal that we were afforded this opportunity. We did get about 50% of what we asked for, but it looks like the state did provide more grants across the board to the other counties and other agencies that applied. So that's a good thing for Pennsylvania. So we'll make do with what we have and shoot for more next year.
This is great, Faith. I can't remember now if it was Julie or Natalie, but they said, we have applied for this grant for years and years and years, and this is the first time we've actually received any funding of this type.
So this is the first time I've applied for this particular grant. It's a really challenging grant, and we've worked on finding other resources as we can, but I think we are at a critical point in Center County, and especially as Commissioner Dersham shared, the COVID really kind of shone a light on what already existed, to be quite honest. And so because my department has ERAP, and because we're looking at things like whole home and ESG, it has launched us into a whole new level of competition, essentially, for other types of grants. So I think that we are set up better to do ESG now than we probably were ever in years past. Yeah.
No questions, but thanks for your work on securing this grant. It'll make a difference for families in our community. Yeah.
No, it's perfect. Keep up the good work. One other question. Is there any effort in the county to do a sort of a routine food, like a soup kitchen type arrangement? Is anybody doing that in Center County?
Like just out in the general public. So we have a couple of different churches that do different types of soup kitchens. The ones I can think of off the top of my head are primarily in the downtown State College area. They've been doing it for years. I know that the Out of the Cold Day Shelter tries to have lunch and other meals, hot and cold, kind of prepared. We have emergency food programs through places like Center Help, so they're a 24-hour hotline, and they focus more on like the transient food. So for people that maybe don't have access to a way to cook, or they're going to be taking a bus somewhere, or their living arrangements are what they are. So yeah, I've seen a lot of different churches and groups do soup kitchens, and who attends it's a variety of people. Sometimes it's folks that really need that meal. Other times it's people that are there for the community. And something I've oftentimes expressed, especially as a parent during the pandemic, sometimes it's just you need a break. Right? And so when you can find an outlet where there's some community and some assistance just for a meal, maybe it's not monetary, but there are other values and benefits to it. So what I would encourage is if anybody really needs that service during the day, they call Center Help's hotline, which is 814-237-5855, and they have those resources available. You're welcome. Yep.
I see Gary has a question.
Does the county or municipalities keep any kind of census on how many abstract figure people are considered homeless in Center County?
So I can't speak for the municipalities. I can say that the State College Borough does participate in our point-in-time effort, and then we do reach out to all of the municipalities prior as an outreach effort. So we might reach out with a letter, phone call, email, and say, hey, you know, we're preparing for this nationwide initiative, and that goal is ultimately to find people that are deemed unsheltered homeless. We also count what we call our sheltered homeless, so those are people that are in the emergency shelters, transitional housing, rapid rehousing, programs like that during that particular night in January. Typically what'll happen is I will put together what I call the Center County Report, and I call it kind of the homeless census. So it's a snapshot of one night in January of what homelessness in Center County looked like, from anyone that's sleeping in their car, on the street. They could be in an RV that has no utilities, so it's not habitable, all the way to folks that might be in a rapid rehousing program where they have their own lease, but they still require supports. So last year we had about 235 people because we had a really large hotel program. This year we'll probably be looking back down at like 150, but that's still 150 people that we know of or that we visually saw during the count that are homeless. So those are the type of data points that usually municipalities will reach out for, and we can provide once the report is complete. We usually share it with the media because it's a really impactful number. For us as service providers, we always get a little grouchy that we know there's way more people out there experiencing some level of homelessness, but when we really do look at that number, that is substantial. And oftentimes for folks that aren't in our role, it's a bigger number than they ever could have imagined. So that's how we try to tackle that question. Best of our ability.
Plans for new shelters, or are you focusing on expanding what currently is available?
So we are not currently playing any sort of role in expanding or creating a new. I can say that Out of the Cold is working on their shelter, but that's an arrangement with their organization as well as the State College Borough, and the county's not necessarily involved. Although we are a partner with them, we share a lot of the same clients. For Center House, it's really kind of looking at unique opportunities. So currently they only have so much space. But they did learn and see what hoteling looks like. Of course, they have the old Bollesburg homes, which are again, not an emergency shelter, but it's really about trying to find that portfolio of housing and shelter opportunities. We've had extensive conversations in the past couple of years about sheltering. You know, do we ever get to a point where we look at regional opportunities? Do we meet up with other counties and try to find solutions? The other biggest issue with emergency shelter is just funding. So the fact that we can apply for emergency shelter and we're awarded it through ESG is actually a really big deal because DCD had stopped providing a lot of that funding for a while. I think that their eyes were opened, as was ours with the pandemic, and so we're hopeful that more funding will come down for that service.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Gary. Great question. All right, so I believe we still need a vote.
Okay, so I will move to add the contract with DCED for the Emergency Solutions Grant to next week's consent agenda.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the Emergency Solution Grant. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Thanks, Faith.
Yep, you're welcome.
I think
Thank you.
next department head up is Quentin.
I'm here to ask for consideration for a professional service agreement for AP Architects to provide oversight of the renovation project at Snowshoe Senior Center. AP Architects would assist in the planning of the renovation, overseeing the bid process for projects, prepare project drawings, and oversee the duties of the project. This agreement would allow for professional oversight for all aspects of the project, making sure that the plan is sound, the bids are appropriate, and the construction is completed properly to the design. So I had talked about previously the Senior Center at Snowshoe, which is the Mountaintop Medical Center. When I went and I visited the center, they have a new senior center manager who's not so new anymore. They have considerably increased their participation. And the one thing when I went there that everybody said was, we're sardines here. We need more space. Snowshoe doesn't have a lot of opportunity up there for buildings. I did talk to the landlord and they said that that expanding downstairs into the pharmacy was possible. So this is really the first step, getting this professional service agreement in place to come up with a design and a plan for the renovation to hopefully expand into the pharmacy section of it, and then allow not only to have more comfort for the participants there, but also to allow for further expansion in the future as far as increasing participation. So, thank you.
Thanks. Well, it's wonderful, Quentin. Great to hear that we're taking action to enlarge the senior center there, because as you mentioned, it gets a lot of use. Commissioner Concepcion?
Yeah, it's good to hear. Thank you.
A giant social hall in Snowshoe, that'd be great to keep.
Yeah. There's a lot of businesses and things going away in Snowshoe, and I think really for the seniors and the community up there, this will be a place for seniors to go. That'll be their own, and we're really excited for the opportunity for the people of Snowshoe.
Glad it's being used.
And those gathering spaces are so important to have places for
Absolutely.
people to form community. I'll move to add the professional service agreement with AP Architects LLC to the next week's consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor do so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thanks, Quentin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Kathy's the next department head.
Good morning. Catching up on a few remaining contracts for the current fiscal year. This is a contract renewal with the Center County Youth Service Bureau to provide mental health services. This will include housing support, family support services, student assistance programming services, and support for our Child and Adolescent Service System program, what we refer to as CASP. The contract total is $101,000, and of that, the county portion is $4,656. And it is for our current fiscal year, July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023.
No questions, but thanks. Yeah.
All good.
I'll move to add the contract with Center County Youth Service Bureau to next week's consent agenda.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the contract renewal do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thanks, Kathy. And Carrie's next up.
Good morning. I am here to request the Board of Commissioners' approval to submit a project modification request, which we call a PMR, to the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency for our current intermediate punishment grant to augment the award in the amount of $15,000. We're currently halfway through the grant period. It ends June 30th of this calendar year. And in January, PCCD will send out an email asking counties to look at their budgets, and if they have funds they believe they're not going to expend, they can return them to the state. But if they think they could possibly use additional funding, they can request that funding. So this is the first year that we're requesting funding, additional funds for consideration. Myself and Kathy and Ryan met last week to review our current budget, and we believe we could benefit from an additional $15,000 in IP funding. These funds can only be utilized for treatment-related expenses and are on a first-come, first-served basis. So it just depends on how many counties actually return funds that they're not going to expend that can be then repurposed to the other counties that are raising their hand saying, you know, we could use additional money. So we're going to increase line items related to drug testing supplies, reconnect services, drug confirmation tests, continuous remote alcohol monitoring, and also increase treatment-related services to medicated assisted treatment, including nursing visits, doctor visits, and MAT medications, as well as outpatient counseling. So that is the request.
Yeah, I'm really glad that we're moving forward with this, and it seems like this funding would really be helpful in making sure that we're trying to care for the well-being of people that are in the criminal justice system that need some medical care. So, yeah.
Mr. Dershowitz?
Yep, it's all good.
So I'll move to approve the project modification request to PCCD for the current intermediate punishment treatment program grant.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you. I'll
Thank
submit
you.
the request today.
Thank you. All right, now we have our liquid fuels and fee for local use, where the commissioners benefit our 35 local municipalities in pulling down state and federal funding to repair roads and bridges. I'll pass it over to John.
Thank you, Commissioner. Before you for consideration is a fee for local use application for Half Moon Township. This is for the overlay and resurfacing of Chanelli Drive and Lutz Lane. The overall project cost is $149,925, and the allocation requested of fee for local use funds is $60,000. So we are requesting approval for the fee for local use application for Half Moon Township in the amount of $60,000.
Great. Commissioner Concepcion?
So since I'm new to seeing these, just to be clear, then Half Moon Township is paying the balance of that
Yes.
through there?
Yes, that would be the municipal contribution, yes.
And sometimes there are also state and federal contributions too. Commissioner Dershowitz? It's all good. All right.
So I'll move to approve the fee for local use application for Half Moon Township.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the fee for local use application for Half Moon Township. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, we'll now move on to our consent agenda. Relatively short one, so I don't, nope, all right, nothing to pull.
So I'll move to approve this week's consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this week's consent agenda. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion carries. Great, now we will move on to our authorities, boards, and commissions, continuing to handle Commissioner Pipe's resignations and reappoint new people to replace the committees he served on. We have a resignation of Michael Pipe from the Cedacog Natural Gas Cooperative, effective January 14th. And we have, thankfully, Commissioner Dersham volunteering to fill that opening. Thank you, Steve. His appointment goes from February 14th of this year to December 31st of this year. Appreciate that, Steve.
All things natural gas, apparently.
All right, we have a motion.
Okay, I'll move to approve the ABC resignation and the appointment.
I will second
We have a motion and a second to approve the resignation and appointment. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion carries. Now we'll move to the check run. Back to Commissioner Concepcion.
So in our tradition of pulling out one of the checks from the check run to highlight, we have a check to CNET on our check run, and I just would like to highlight the work that CNET does throughout the community. Center County is a member of CNET, and I think one of the really important functions CNET provides is allowing citizens to watch at their own convenience, either online or on television, often live, what their local government is doing. And I think I would encourage everyone throughout the county to keep track of the programming on CNET, because you'll be able to see how your local township or municipality, the kind of issues that they're working on, and potential opportunities for citizen involvement, and then at the county level as well, and local school districts. And they also do a lot of fun programming, such as high school band concerts and all kinds of athletic events. Spelling
Civil War
bees, yes.
roundtables.
Civil War Roundtable. They really provide an opportunity for people to connect to so many things going on throughout our community. So with that, I will move to approve the check run dated February 10th, 2023.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the $1,183,430.26 check run dated February 10th. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, opposed, nay. Motion carries. Do we have an administrator's report, John?
Nothing to report at this time.
All right, over to the announcement section, voter registration report.
Okay, we have 99,789 registered voters in Center County. That's down 5 registrants from last report. We have 42,052 Democratic registrations, 131 Green Party, 611 Libertarian, 13,303 no affiliation, and 40,569 Republican voters in Center County. And when you add the 3,123 other smaller parties, you get the total of 99,789. Of that 3,123 number, I'd like to feature the Bipartisan Party. The Bipartisan Party has 1 registered voter in Center County, so we are recognizing them. And I'd also like to recognize the precinct feature of the week, which is precinct number 90, which is Half Moon East Central, which votes at the Half Moon Christian Fellowship Church. And in the last election, there were total registration of 1,250. There were 955 ballots cast, which led to a percentage total turnout of 76.40%, which is a pretty good number.
Amazing.
So that's whenever you break 3/4 of your electorate out there, that's a good number. So congratulations, precinct number 90.
That is a tremendous number for a gubernatorial year.
It is.
All right. On that good news, we will move on to announcements. Center County government offices will be closed on Monday, February 20th, in observance of President's Day. Do we have any executive sessions to report, John?
No executive sessions to report or hold.
Very good. Let's see, we have a work session scheduled immediately after this meeting today. Next week, we have our regular commissioner meeting on Tuesday at 10. On Thursday, we have a finance committee meeting at 9, a commissioner meeting at 10, and the salary board meeting at roughly the same time. I was going to say, any questions from the press? No? All right. We have a motion to adjourn.
I will move to adjourn.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn at 10:53. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thanks, everyone.